I think the main thing that we found was that the lack of progress actually within industry and how adaptation and resilience have been applied at industry level. We seem to be revisiting reports and studies from a few years back that we've originally worked on, and that nothing actually been progressed out into the market. Things that stalled. There's been a lot of work in research and funding into research through NCARF, but I think there's been limited application within the industry and actual businesses working together. The water sector as a whole have led in this space purely from a water security perspective. So when we had the drought conditions for 6 years in Australia, the whole climate risk and adaptation was essentially driven in the water sector by the need for water security. From there, they've then been able to, I guess, leapfrog other sectors in this space and looking at it more focused on their assets now. So purely it was on supply, water supply. Now they're applying that thinking and research they've done onto their own assets, and they seem to be more collaborative across their industry sector.
I mean, one of the states that's basically leading in adaptation, would be safe to say that's Victoria at the moment, but if you look at the last 3 years' history, they've actually dealt with catastrophic bushfires, they've had flooding across all of the state and quite a lot of devastation, and they've also had at least 2 summers where they've had extreme heat waves, and they've had transport infrastructure in particular basically crumble around them and had it out of service for whole days. Particularly with the tram lines, that was actually rail buckling under extreme heat. So they responded quickly to that, and they've you see quite a lot of players that are doing detailed adaptation planning, so the likes of the Department of Transport in Victoria, the Vic Roads, and also other agencies and a whole suite of local councils there. A few of the companies that we've been assisting in understanding climate risk going forward have actually stated that one of their internal drivers was properties that were flooded during the Queensland floods, and the cost to the company of dealing with that damage to their properties and dealing with stakeholders and residents and community, and an increasing awareness about you know, what types of infrastructure is vulnerable under those circumstances. So a couple of the property owners were basically hampered because electrical substations were located in basements which were flooded, and that's actually led to a whole string of questions around interdependencies between property sector and electricity and water providers.
I don't think industries or individual businesses actually come to the realisation that a lot of the risk sits outside of their control. Sydney Water is probably the only example where they've actually taken the next step and looked at their interdependencies with the energy sector. It's all well and good to implement a lot of adaptation measures to minimise the physical risk of climate change on their physical assets, but their whole wastewater treatment and water supply systems will go down if there's a major heat event and all the energy network goes down to that region to run their system. So I think there needs to be more collaboration across industries, and the other major finding is that there's still lack of understanding of where to start on dealing with the issue. Because it covers so many different climate variables, and it affects different levels of their supply chain and their physical assets, and there's so many different drivers that they don't know where to start on dealing with the issue, so they always just put it to the side as a too hard basket, and we'll deal with it in 20 years' time when the impacts start to happen.